The Maw of Winter, by Joseph Stoddard. The first thing Kenny noticed was the cold. It pressed into his bones before his eyes even opened. The air was heavy with frost, and when he exhaled, his breath floated in pale clouds. He blinked himself awake, lying on the splintered floor of an old house. The place was silent except for the hollow moan of wind sneaking through cracks in the rotting wood. His jaw ached, as though he had been clenching it in his sleep. His hands were raw, his nails black with grime. When he sat up, he wasn't alone. 2 other men lay nearby. One was broad-shouldered, with unkempt hair and a hollow face, Matthew. The other, leaner, with sharp features and darting eyes, Tristan. Names came sluggishly, like pebbles dredged from the bottom of a lake. He recognized them, but nothing else. Who they were, what bound them, why they were here, nothing remained. Matthew stirred first, groaning, clutching his side. Where the hell, Kenny? The sound of his voice was a comfort, though neither of them knew why. Tristan sat up sharply, scanning the room like a cornered animal. This isn't right. Something brought us here. Something. His voice faltered as his eyes caught on the wall. The house was Gothic in its decrepitude. Arched doorways, broken furniture, tattered curtains that hung like dried skin. The walls were stained by decades of rot. And on one wall, between a collapsed cabinet and a gaping window, was the strangest thing of all. A small, blackened hole, edges still glowing as if charred by fire. The hole wasn't large, barely the size of a fist, but it wasn't right. It pulsed faintly, as though it were breathing. From within, a flicker of red light shifted and churned, and sometimes, when one looked too long, they saw movement. Shapes. Things pressing close to the other side. None of the men spoke of it at first. They simply knew, instinctively, that it was wrong. Day 1. The snow outside was endless. The windows revealed nothing but blinding white, a storm without beginning or end. They could see no landmarks, no shapes, no sky. Just a furious whiteout. Blizzard, Matthew muttered, wrapping his arms around himself. We waited out. Storms always pass. Not this one, Tristan said. His voice cracked like he'd already been arguing with the storm itself. The house was their prison, and it seemed the blizzard conspired to keep them inside. With no food, they melted snow in cracked bowls for water, gnawing on splinters of hope. They gathered wood from the broken chairs and a collapsed wardrobe, feeding a hesitant fire in the ruined hearth. The warmth was fragile, fleeting, and every gust of wind seemed eager to snuff it out. That night, as the flames dwindled, Kenny's eyes drifted back to the hole. He thought he saw a clawed hand, scraping against the other side. When he blinked, it was gone. Day 2. By morning, the hole had grown. It was now the size of a dinner plate, the edges glowing faintly as if some inner furnace burned behind it. A sour stench seeped into the room, metallic and rancid. Tristan couldn't stand it. He paced in circles, fingers twitching. We can't sit here waiting for whatever that is. There has to be a way out. Through the storm. Matthew shook his head. You'll freeze before you make it a mile. Better frozen than that. Tristan jabbed a finger at the wall. Despite Matthew's protest, Tristan wrapped himself in a moth-eaten blanket and plunged into the storm. Kenny and Matthew watched from the doorway until the blizzard consumed him entirely. Hours later, Tristan stumbled back, frost clinging to his beard, his hands raw and bleeding. His eyes were wild, red-rimmed. It's useless, he gasped. Everywhere I went, it brought me back here. North, south, east, west, it doesn't matter. I walked in circles, and the house was always there waiting for me. Matthew swore under his breath. Kenny only whispered, then we're trapped. No, Tristan snapped. We're being kept. Day 3. The hole had grown wide enough for something to pass through. And something did. It came crawling, slithering through the burning rim of the wall. A beast no larger than a dog but infinitely more foul. Its skin was pallid, translucent, crawling with veins that pulsed with dark ichor. Its head was too large for its body, split with a crooked maw full of teeth like shattered glass. Eyes, too many, too wet, blinked in frantic patterns across its skull. The thing screeched, a sound that carried not just through their ears but into their bones. Matthew shouted and swung a broken chair leg. The strike cracked against the creature's jaw, snapping it sideways, but not before it lunged and sank its teeth into his arm. Blood spilled, dark against the snow tracked in from their boots. Matthew screamed, thrashing as the beast worried at him like a dog with a bone. Kenny roared and tackled it, pinning its thrashing limbs while Tristan jammed a sharpened board into its throat. The creature writhed, ichor gurgling from its ruined neck, until Kenny stomped its skull into pulp. Its body convulsed and ruptured like a sack of spoiled meat. When Kenny kicked it away, its blood splattered across his skin. The liquid burned like acid, searing his flesh. He howled, plunging his arm into snow until the fire dulled to a throb. The corpse reeked, its bones smoked, its flesh bubbled. They shoved it into the hearth, but even in flame, it refused to burn cleanly, shrieking as though it still lived. That night, Matthew's wound festered. His breath rattled with fever. Day 4. By dawn, Matthew was no longer himself. His skin was gray, stretched too tight, his veins black and swollen. His eyes darted with animal hunger, his teeth sharpening into jagged points. Kenny and Tristan tied him to a broken bed frame, but the ropes strained as he writhed. He growled and hissed, straining, drooling steam in the cold air. Tristan's voice cracked as he whispered, "He's turning into one of them." Kenny shook his head, "He's still in there." But when Matthew's voice came, it was guttural, wet, inhuman, hungry. By evening, he tore free. He prowled the room, hunched and trembling, saliva steaming from his mouth. Kenny and Tristan pressed themselves into corners, too afraid to sleep. It was only a matter of time. Day 5. Matthew snapped before sunrise. He attacked Tristan first, his body unnaturally strong, his screams barely human. The fight was chaos. Matthew hurled Tristan into a wall, splintering wood. Kenny leapt on his back, dragging him down, fists pounding his skull. Tristan recovered enough to ram a broken chair leg through Matthew's ribs. The creature howled, flailing, but still fought on. It took both of them, stabbing and stomping, until Matthew collapsed in a twitching heap. His face, once human, slid into something monstrous as the light went out of his eyes. Neither spoke for hours. That night, Kenny found scraps of paper in the basement, journal fragments, smeared with ink. The words were half-legible, phrases like, "The maw must be fed," and, "We offer ourselves for eternity, that the gate may widen." He read them aloud in a trembling voice. Tristan only shook his head. "I don't want to know. I don't want to remember." But memory crept back anyway. They knew one another's faces before this place. They had met around fire and shadow, chanting names not meant for mortal tongues. They had worshipped what lay beyond the hole. Day 6. The hole had widened to the size of a door. From it came a stench of rot, and sounds that were worse, screeches and moans, but underneath, something almost like words. That evening, something massive pushed through. A creature the size of a tiger, its body a writhing mass of limbs and teeth, its face a blur of agony as though it wore the expressions of hundreds at once. Its roar was so loud it rattled the house, the windows cracking in their frames. Kenny and Tristan barricaded the wall with furniture, an old grand piano, bookcases, splintered tables. For a time, it held. The beast clawed and howled on the other side, its voice filled with both fury and despair, as if it did not want to attack but could not resist. That night, the barricade fell. Kenny woke to Tristan's screams. The beast was inside, mauling him, tearing him open like cloth. Blood painted the walls, hot and steaming. Tristan's last words were not cries for help, but half-remembered prayers to the thing beyond. "Take me back, take me home." Kenny fled, slamming the basement door behind him. The creature clawed but could not break through. For one more night, the basement held. Day 7. By morning, the hole was colossal, wider than the wall itself. The air hummed with dread, the floorboards trembling. Kenny pressed his ear to the door and heard it. Something larger than all before, dragging itself into the house. The basement door shattered. A beast the size of a bear loomed in the darkness, grotesque and trembling, its body split by maws that opened and closed in unison. Kenny bolted. He darted to a shattered window and hurled himself into the storm. The blizzard was unchanged, eternal. Snow clawed at his skin, the wind howled like laughter. And still, inevitably, His path brought him back to the house. He staggered inside, broken, frostbitten, only to find the hole waiting. It pulsed with crimson light, a heartbeat that wasn't his own. Behind him, the bear creature prowled. Before him, the gate yawned wide. He had no choice. Kenny stumbled forward, through the burning rim. Dash dash dash. On the other side was no world, but a nightmare given form. The sky was ash and fire, the ground writhing with countless creatures, each more hideous than the last. They circled him, eyes fixed upon him, yet none attacked. They waited. The sky parted. What descended was beyond description, a thing so vast it eclipsed everything. A god of fear, its form too immense for the mind to hold. Its body was the void, its eyes suns that burned cold, its limbs galaxies twisted into mockery. Just to look upon it was to forget one's name, one's self, one's reason. A hand, vast, alien, eternal, descended. Fingers of cosmic shadow enclosed him. Kenny screamed until he could not breathe, until the sound was swallowed by infinity. And in that moment, he remembered. The rituals, the chants, the sacrifices by firelight, Tristan's voice raised in devotion, Matthew's in song. His own hand, drawing the knife, the oath of eternal servitude whispered into the dark. They had chosen this. They had given themselves willingly. Now, they belonged, forever.